We gave an entire generation a handheld device with access to everything humanity has ever created, ever filmed, and ever argued about in a comment section. Then we said, be careful, and walked back into the kitchen. Solid plan. Truly one of our better ones. Here's the thing about being a parent in 2026. You are tired. You are doing your best. You have approximately 47 tabs open in your brain at any sicknixdesty, and the phone keeps your child quiet, which means the phone keeps you sane, which means everyone has quietly agreed not to talk about the phone too loudly. There is kind of an unspoken agreement. Let's start with the timeline, because it's genuinely startling when you line it up. The smartphone is barely a teenager itself, born 2007. Within 4 years of arriving on the scene, we were already handing it to actual teenagers and children. In 2011, according to Pew Research, fewer than 1 in 4 Pizzle owned a smartphone. By 2016, just 5 years later, nearly 8 in 10 did, and so did 28% of children aged 8 to 12. 8 years old. We moved fast. We didn't exactly pause to ask what we were handing over. By 2024, Pew reported that 95% of teens had smartphone access. Half describe themselves as online almost constantly. The other half are probably just in a dead zone. Social psychologist Jonathan Haidt spent years studying what this actually looks like in practice and wrote it all up in a book called The Anxious Generation that became one of the most talked about books of 2024 because it finally put numbers and structure around something millions of parents had been sensing but couldn't fully name. Journalist Peggy Noonan, writing in the Wall Street Journal, summarized Haidt's findings this way. Girls moved their social lives entirely onto social media. Boys burrowed to video games, endless content feeds, and corners of the internet that nobody would describe as enriching. Teens now spend as much time looking at their phones as they do sleeping, more time on screens than in classrooms, and they are not, research confirms, mostly using that time to get ahead on their history projects. Here's what the data shows is happening as a result. Major depression among teenagers has risen sharply since 2010. Self-harm among adolescent girls has tripled. Online harassment, unwanted messages, digital bullying, the slow grind of being permanently reachable and permanently judged is rising steadily. These are not small numbers. These are not edge cases. This is a generation-wide pattern with a very consistent timeline. It starts right around the time the smartphones arrived. Picture a Wednesday afternoon. School's out. A group of kids are together, technically together, each looking at a separate screen, sitting in the same room, occasionally showing each other something funny, which lasts 4 seconds before they all return to their own feeds. They are not talking. They are not arguing. They are not bored in that productive way that used to lead to building a fort or riding bikes or getting into minor trouble that became a good story later. They are just scrolling, content going in, nothing much coming out. The parent nearby considers saying something, glances at their own phone to check the time, and gets briefly pulled into an article about screen time. 20 minutes pass. Or picture bedtime. It is 10 p.m. The rule is no phones after 9. The phone is in the bedroom. It is on the floor beside the bed because the charger cord is short. The 12-year-old is watching a man he has never met react to a video of another man he has never met, and the algorithm, cheerful, tireless, deeply unbothered by bedtime rules, is already loading the next one. This is not a worst-case scenario. This is a Wednesday. What makes Haidt's work genuinely important is that it doesn't stop at adolescence. He tracks the outcomes forward, into the 20s, into the 30s. What he finds is that the patterns set during these years tend to stick. Impaired ability to sit with discomfort, difficulty with face-to-face conversation and conflict, anxiety that doesn't resolve when the teenage years end, because the teenage years never fully happened offline. A flattened capacity for empathy. Not because this generation is unkind, but because empathy develops through friction, through boredom, through eye contact and awkward silences, and working things out in real time. Screens don't provide that. Screens smooth it all away. Author Robert Fulghum once wrote something that every parent should remind themselves. Don't worry that children never listen to you. Worry that they are always watching you. Children are watching us choose the phone over the conversation. They're watching us scroll through dinner. They're watching us be unreachable while being physically present. And they are learning that this is just what humans do now. We have sensibly decided as a society that 14-year-olds shouldn't drive cars, shouldn't smoke, shouldn't work in genuinely hazardous environments. We made those rules because we understand that developing brains and certain kinds of concentrated exposure are a combination that requires guardrails. Some places are now beginning to apply that same logic to smartphones, school phone bans, social media age restrictions. It is a start, a quiet, tentative, slightly too late start, but a start nonetheless. None of this is your fault. That matters, and it's worth saying plainly. You didn't design an algorithm engineered to hold attention at any cost. You didn't build a platform optimized for engagement over well-being. You were handed a device that the entire culture told you was connection, creativity, and convenience, and the terms and conditions did not include a section on what the research would eventually find. The system that was supposed to think carefully about children's development largely didn't. That's not on you. But awareness, that part is available now, and it changes things. This generation is not lost, but they do need adults who understand what they're actually navigating. The kids are watching us decide what to do next. Let's make it something worth watching,